The best physique I ever had was right before I started running. Now this totally blew my mind because in my head, I would think if I'm running more, it should be really damn easy to get lean, cut down, stay lean, right? Well, that's not exactly what happened. Now that's not to say running is bad per se. That's more to say when I added running into my training and lifestyle, it just complicated everything. A few years ago, running became the cool thing to do, especially if you already lifted. The whole hybrid athlete thing, that was the thing. And I was talking to a friend who was doing the Melbourne Marathon at the time, and I happened to be reading Can't Hurt Me. Shout out David Goggins. So the completely rational thing for me to do, seeing I was young and healthy, was obviously to run a marathon. So casually running maybe less than 10Ks every weekend or so turned into actually starting to train and build up my mileage. But that's where things got a little hairy. See, training 6 times a week in the gym, pretty simple, pretty easy to manage. Trying to shove an extra 4 running days in there, 7 days in a week. The math ain't mathin'. You have to start doing double training days, which is cool and fine, but I wasn't ready for that. I was still eating like I was just going to the gym and living my life. And my body was not having it. Yeah, that got bad. But I was really committed to this whole marathon idea, so I started eating more. And it definitely helped with my performance, but my physique took a hit. Anyway, a few months down the track and I was looking fluffy. And that was not on. I wanted to get lean again. And in my mind, I thought, okay, great. I'm running heaps. This should be easy. I should just eat less, wham bam, cool. Yeah, it didn't work like that. I lost a bunch of weight, but it was a bunch of muscle and I still looked fluffy. So I started eating again and then I put on a bit too much weight. Then I started counting calories, thought that would work. It didn't work. Everything was just getting really complicated when it used to be so easy. So what was really the issue? Well, there are 3 main things, and it all stems from the fact that I added another layer of complexity to my training and my lifestyle. I was no longer just lifting 6 times a week. I'd shoved an extra 4 runs in there. So now I was doing double days. Then also my lifting took a back seat. So my muscles weren't developing the way they used to. And amongst all of this, I had to balance what was taking priority and what my sessions would look like. And they looked drastically different. And all of a sudden it was a lot to manage. Secondly, it really affected my nutrition. Before I really got into running, I'd never tracked calories. I'd never gone that in-depth into nutrition. I was just eating clean, eating lots of protein, and eating as much as I needed, but not overeating. And it was pretty simple stuff. But then adding the complexity of getting enough energy to fuel performance, but then also trying not to overeat, but also trying not to undereat, it just got complex. And the third thing is it really affected the way my recovery worked. Previously, I had a really simple gym split, so the muscles I was working out had time to recover in between the days, no issue. I wasn't getting injured, everything was really controlled. Now I was working out nearly twice as much, double training days most days. It was a lot more for my body and it became a thing of if I fell behind on sleep, I would crash, I would get sick. Recovery just became so much more complicated. But let me just reiterate, running is not the enemy. This is not me saying you shouldn't run. This is not me saying you shouldn't try hybrid training. I think it's great. I think it's great to be both strong and fit, but I just want to warn you that there are consequences. It becomes a lot harder to maintain a peak physique because realistically you become focused on performance and aesthetics become secondary. And that's okay. If that's your goals, awesome. Just keep that in the back of your mind and know what your goals are. Realistically, if you're trying to look shredded, get into the gym consistently and get a lot of daily steps. So if hybrid training is something you want to do, that's when structure really comes into play and becomes essential. Frankly, it becomes a lot harder to go vibes-based with your training and lifestyle when you do start adding those extra layers of complexity into your training. So it is very possible you just need to have the right systems in place. And if you need help building systems, I have a free community where I help people build structure and put systems in place to help them reach their goals without hijacking the rest of their life. If that sounds like you can join me, the first link in the description. Otherwise, I'll see you next week.